Good afternoon, folks. This is Carl, your ticker guy, coming at you from sunny Niceville, Florida. It is about 10 minutes until the futures open, which is expected to be an absolute freaking bloodbath. If you look at the currencies, you'll see that the currencies are just absolutely in the toilet. Now let's talk about what's going on. Lehman Brothers looks like they're going to liquidate. Bank of America and Merrill Lynch are in merger talks. Barclays gave the finger to buying out Lehman. And AIG is planning a restructuring, which they are expected to announce before the bell tomorrow. The opening bell, that is. Why? Because their stock got cut by 30% on Friday. Hey. Why did they get chopped up? Well, because everybody's worried about these things called credit default swaps. Now, folks, if you remember, when Bear Stearns got bailed out, Ben Bernanke and Hank Paulson got out and told all the banks to take their marks and clean up their crap. They've had 6 months and they haven't done it. What they've done instead is shovel all this stuff into what's called level 3 assets, which basically means we'll make up whatever price we want. We don't care whether or not it's real. Okay? And that's how these guys have handled this crisis. It's how they've done it. Well, it doesn't work, folks. It never has worked. It's never going to work. But this is how they have taken care of this problem, supposedly. Now, all the chickens are coming home to roost, whether we like it or not. So here's the reality, folks. The S&P 500 is probably going to have a 3-digit handle on it. That is 3 numbers before the decimal point sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. Yes, I know that's 25 to 30% lower than it is right now. Why? Because all of the earnings that are out there, supposedly from these wonderful finance, insurance, and real estate companies, are a load of garbage. You take that all out, and then you take the leverage out of the rest of corporate America, and the earnings go in the toilet. We, the people, had a responsibility a year and a half ago to stand up and tell Ben Bernanke and his merry little men, including Hank Paulson, to cut this shit out. We didn't do it. In April of last year, I started writing about Washington Mutual paying dividends out of capitalized interest because they didn't have enough cash earnings to make the payments. That, by the way, is a cute little trick. See, capitalized interest is legitimate earnings on your balance sheet, but it isn't money. You can't spend it. Did the regulators care? Apparently not. Now Washington Mutual is selling for $2.73 a share as of the close on Friday. Probably going to zero. Oh, by the way, the FDIC's insurance fund, it appears that that's not real money either. You know, it's the same thing as Social Security. You pay the taxes, the government steals it and spends it, and gives you an IOU. So, where's the insurance money coming to pay off your failed bank deposit? Out of your own pocket. Out of your own pocket, folks. The government is not taking an insurance payment and using it to pay off. They are instead taking tax collections, which of course they will just raise taxes in order to get, and to give you your money back that you just lost. So you're going to pay your own money back to yourself out of your own pocket. So the loss that you suffered is real. It's not covered, it's real, it's yours. Wake up, folks. Have we had enough yet? Is it time for the American people to say, you know what, we're not going to put up with this crap anymore? Ben, Hank, you told these banks 6 months ago, take your marks, raise your capital, cut the crap. They didn't do it. They shoveled all the stuff off into level 3. Dribbling. Nobody's telling the truth. Now Lehman Brothers goes down. Merrill Lynch and Bank of America are in merger talks, presumably because Merrill Lynch is next. Who's going to be left when this whole thing's over? Maybe Goldman Sachs, maybe not. Folks, none of what you've been told over the last year by these officials is true. Remember, Hank Paulson, Ben Bernanke, subprime is contained, no impact on the broader economy, the banking and financial system is sound. Oh, it's real sound, all right, you liar. Bear Stearns, Lehman, maybe Merrill, maybe AIG, maybe Washington Mutual. How many banks and other financial institutions have to go boom? You know, big nuclear explosion. How many of those have to happen before we say, you know what, the banking system isn't sound? You're just trying to prevent people from freaking out. Well, maybe we ought to be freaking out. Maybe it's time for a little truth out of you people in Washington, D.C. Maybe it's time for you to tell us on national television, to get up on CNBC and Bloomberg and say, you know what? These firms have played fast and loose for too long. We're going to start putting them in jail. We're going to take a look at all these people who lied about their income to get a loan to buy a house. We're going to lock them all up. All the appraisers, all the real estate people, people like David Lira writing books, Why the Housing Boom Will Not Bust as it explodes. All of these people pumping everything. Yeah, you have a First Amendment right to say whatever you want. What you don't have a right to do is intentionally mislead people. What you don't have a right to do is run around and say the banking system and the financial system is fundamentally strong and sound, when it's not. When you know full well that Fannie and Freddie are running with 80 to 1 or more in leverage. When you have every reason to believe that their books have been cooked because a few years ago you caught them cooking their books. Where does it stop, Hank? Where does it stop, Ben? When are you going to stand up and say, we work for you, the 300 million Americans that inhabit this land? Not the 20,000 bankers that live in New York City. You work for us. You're our employees. Those of you that have homes that are underwater, you bought a $400,000 house, you make $60,000 a year, you took an option arm or some other form of exotic mortgage. Which is better? For you to refinance that to a 30-year fixed rate, pay 60% of your income or more to service your mortgage, or to intentionally foreclose right now. All of you. Stop paying. On purpose. Get thrown out of your house, have your credit ruined. Go through bankruptcy if you have to. 2-3 years from now, your house will sell for half of what it did in 2005 or less. Buy it back. Payment will be half the size as it is today. You'll be able to make those payments. When do the citizens stand up and say, you know, we've had enough of this crap? It's time that we had some truth from D.C. And if we can't get truth from D.C. and from New York, we're going to act on what is the truth, whether you say it or not. When do we finally say we've had enough? You change the bankruptcy laws so that people can't file bankruptcy and walk away from their debts anymore. Trying to make people into debt slaves. That's very nice. Who lobbied hard for that? The banks. Is that in the benefit of consumers? No. That was not. Again, who do you work for, Hank? Who do you work for, Ben? Who do you work for, Congress? Barney Frank? Chuck Schumer? Who? You work for those guys up there? Huh? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions? Well, guess what? That which cannot be mathematically sustained won't be. Welcome to the truth. How many more examples do we need? And when are you going to stop BSing, America?